Today, we're going to talk about how public organizations can use academic expertise to adapt and change. Hello, and welcome to The On-Ramp, an ongoing series that highlights thought leadership from the Sawyer Business School in downtown Boston. My name is Areta Odaya, and today I'll be speaking with Public Service and Healthcare Administration Professor Brenda Bond. She's a nationally known researcher who specializes in organizational change and culture, as well as the development, implementation, and evaluation of public and social policies and practices. Professor Bond, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
So let's get into the first question. Why do public organizations need to adapt and change?
So what's helpful to do is to start first with the fact that public organizations, which might include government and nonprofit, they are driven by a mission. So they may need to change in order to address sort of a particular crisis that's happening either in a community or in an area that they work in, or they may need to adapt or change because of new technologies or new needs amongst the individuals that they serve. Organizations also change because they're looking to proactively address something that they see as either a need or they want to do something really differently. So there's either a reaction to what might be happening around them, or they may be proactively changing so that they can think about how to better serve their consumers or the folks that they work with.
How do you help public organizations change to address the challenges that they face?
So I've worked with a lot of organizations, public and nonprofit organizations, in many different ways. There's really no one way to help organizations change, but what I try to do is promote collaboration and engaging different people in the organization. A top-down approach to change is usually not very effective, and what you really want to do is communicate to members of the organization there's a need to change, or how do we identify opportunities to change and adapt, and engage people in a process that really does value their voice and their experience so that you can achieve those goals that you're trying to achieve.
What specific factors influence how and why organizations undergo change?
So I think one of the most important is leadership. As leaders of organizations, they should be thinking about what is happening around them, what's happening inside the organization. So how leaders think about and approach change is probably one of the most important factors. I think a second factor is really, does an organization have what I would say is a culture where they're always thinking about how can we do better? What do we need to do in order to better serve, right? Because that's what public and nonprofit organizations do, is serve. So I think leadership, culture, also engaging people in that process, as I mentioned. How do we make sure that everybody can come along with and buy into change? And if you engage in a process that really helps people see why and how they can be part of change, you're much more likely to be successful in that change.
So can you tell us what is action research and how have you used it to help public organizations change?
So action research is a research methodology for those of us who sort of work in research and are interested in learning about what's happening in the field. Action research is an approach where a researcher will partner with an organization or a community to walk alongside them as they are trying either to learn something new or do something new or to test out and evaluate a new idea. So in the work that I have done around action research, what we're really doing is trying to learn as you go. And then as you go and as you're experimenting or trying new things, you're reflecting on what might be working and what's not working, and then what you might need to do to change either a policy or a practice so that you are continuing to make progress. And then the research part comes in to be able to capture what have we learned in this process and how do we share those learnings with others so that they understand what's worked or what has not worked as this organization or this community has tried to serve a particular population or resolve a particular challenge that they're experiencing. So it's a real collaborative approach to learning.
So tell us a few ways where public organizations can best change.
So I think some ways is sort of being more proactive, and this is something that you've heard me say already, having a culture in an organization where experimenting and reflecting and talking and communicating regularly about what is working and what they do and what is not working. And being open-minded, this is where leadership comes in, being open-minded to allow people in the organization to speak up when they feel as if something is not working. And so that's called psychological safety in research. And if you can have an organization where people feel like they can speak up and say, we really need to be thinking differently about what we're doing because I don't know that this is working. So having this proactive culture where change is not something to be afraid of, but is really embraced, I think is another way in which we can help organizations be successful.
So in your courses, what ways are you focused on organizational change with your students?
So most of the courses I teach are in a graduate level Masters of Public Administration program. The majority of our students are working professionals who are working every day in government and nonprofit organizations. So the way that we integrate and I integrate change is some of our courses are explicitly on organizational change. How do those individuals come to understand how to introduce change and be more proactive about change? How do we bring people in? So whether it's our organizational change class or even in our capstone class, which is one of the last classes our students take, where they're really trying to think about the challenges that they are seeing and experiencing every day in their work, and how do we use the coursework to think of new ways to tackle these challenges or find opportunities to make the work that they're doing better, so that when they leave my class on Tuesday evening and they go to work on Wednesday morning, they are introducing change. And so that's really exciting because it's real-time experimenting and learning in action.
Professor Bond, thank you so much for being here today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on The On-Ramp.